Lee Minho wiped sweat from his forehead as he guided his cargo ship toward the massive space station floating in the darkness. Omega-7 was bigger than any city he had ever seen on Earth. Metal towers stretched out like fingers into space and bright lights blinked along its surface. Ships from dozens of different worlds moved around it like busy insects. He had been hauling cargo between human colonies for 3 years now. It was honest work even if it was not exciting. Today he was bringing medical supplies to the Outer Rim worlds. Nothing special, nothing dangerous, just another boring run through space. The communication system crackled to life. Human vessel, this is Omega-7 control. Please dock at Bay 47 and report for standard bioscanning. Minho pressed the reply button. Copy that, control. Moving to Bay 47 now. He had been through bioscanning before at other alien stations. It was routine. The aliens wanted to make sure humans were not carrying any diseases or weapons that could hurt them. Fair enough. Humans had the same rules when aliens visited Earth. The docking bay was huge. Minho could see ships from many different species lined up in neat rows. There were the sleek silver vessels of the Veltharians with their curved hulls. The blocky red ships of the Draknari military looked like flying fortresses. Strange, organic-looking craft from the Netherians seemed almost alive as they pulsed with soft light. Minho docked his ship and walked down the ramp. The artificial gravity felt a bit heavy, but he was used to that. Different stations had different settings. The air smelled clean with a hint of ozone from the recycling systems. A tall, blue-skinned alien in a security uniform approached him. The creature had 4 arms and large black eyes that reflected the station lights. This was a Veltharian, one of the more common species in the Galactic Confederation. Welcome to Omega-7, the alien said in perfect English. I am Security Officer Kale. Please follow me for bioscanning. They walked through corridors filled with beings from across the galaxy. Minho saw creatures with tentacles instead of arms, others that floated in small hover bubbles, and some that looked almost human except for their green skin and extra eyes. After 50 years of contact with aliens, humans were still amazed by the variety of life in the galaxy. The bioscanning room was white and clean. A large machine stood in the center, covered with blinking lights and displays showing text in several alien languages. Minho had seen similar devices before, though none quite this advanced. Please step into the scanner, Officer Kale said. It will only take a moment. Minho walked into the circular chamber. Metal arms extended from the walls and began moving around his body. Blue light washed over him from head to toe. He felt a slight tingling sensation, but nothing painful. Then something went wrong. The scanner's lights changed from blue to deep red. The machine began making loud beeping sounds. Officer Kale stumbled backward, all 4 of his arms reaching for the weapon on his belt. What is happening? Minho asked, stepping out of the scanner. More security officers ran into the room. They all stopped when they saw the display screen above the scanner. Ancient symbols glowed on the screen in bright red letters. Even though Minho could not read them, he could tell they were very old. The style looked nothing like the modern alien writing he had seen before. Officer Kale was speaking rapidly into his communication device in the Veltharian language. Other aliens were gathering outside the room, pointing and talking in worried voices. Some of them looked frightened. Nobody move, Officer Kale shouted. His voice was shaking. The station is now in emergency lockdown. Alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Minho could hear heavy doors slamming shut in the distance. Whatever those symbols meant, they had caused a lot of panic. A new figure entered the room. This alien was different from the others. Its skin was gray and wrinkled like old leather. It moved slowly but with obvious authority. The other security officers stepped aside to let it pass. I am Keeper Nalo, the ancient alien said. Its voice was deep and rough. I have not seen these symbols for many cycles. Human, do you know what you carry within your bones? I do not understand, Minho replied. What symbols? What is wrong with the scanner? Keeper Nalo pointed a long finger at the display. These words are from the old language, the language of the progenitors who ruled the galaxy, long before any of our current civilizations existed. They say Wielder of the Extinction mark. The room fell silent except for the continuing alarms. Every alien in the chamber was staring at Minho with expressions of fear and horror. The Extinction mark, Keeper Nalo continued, is a legend from our darkest history. It marks those who bring death to entire worlds. 13 great civilizations fell when beings carrying this mark appeared among them. That is impossible, Minho said. I am just a cargo hauler. I have never hurt anyone. I do not even own a weapon. The mark is not something you choose to carry, Keeper Nalo explained. It is written in your very bones, placed there by the progenitors before they vanished from the galaxy. The scanner can see it even when you cannot. Before anyone could say more, another human voice called out from the corridor. What is all this noise about? A woman pushed through the crowd of aliens. She was clearly human, with short black hair and the practical clothing of a researcher. She wore a translation device on her collar and carried a datapad. Dr. Park So-young, Officer Kale said with obvious relief. Perhaps you can explain this. Dr. Park looked at the scanner display and her face went pale. She read the ancient symbols and then looked at Minho with new understanding. I am a xenoarchaeologist, she said to Minho. I study the ruins of ancient civilizations. These symbols are from the progenitor empire, which disappeared 50,000 years ago. They left behind warnings about marked individuals who would appear in times of great danger. But I have never even heard of these progenitors, Minho protested. How can I be marked by something that happened before humans ever left Earth? That is what we need to find out, Dr. Park replied. But right now you are in serious danger. Every species in the galaxy knows the stories of the extinction mark. They will want to destroy you before you can fulfill what they believe is your purpose. Keeper. Nalo was already speaking into his communication device. Alert the Confederation Council, he ordered. We have found another marked one. Initiate Protocol 7 immediately. Dr. Park grabbed Minho's arm. We need to get you out of here before the Council decides you are too dangerous to live. Once word spreads that a human carries the extinction mark, they will come for your entire species. The alarms continued to wail as more security forces surrounded the bio-scanning room. Minho realized his simple cargo run had just become something much bigger and more dangerous than he could have ever imagined. The scanner continued to glow red, casting an ominous light over his bones and announcing to the galaxy that humanity's greatest test was about to begin. The Great Council Chamber on Zenthari Prime was unlike anything Minho had ever seen. The ceiling stretched up so high it seemed to touch the clouds. Representatives from 47 different species sat in curved rows that formed a giant circle. Each delegation had their own section designed for their specific needs. Some sat in chairs, others floated in gravity fields, and a few hung from the ceiling on silk threads. Dr. Park So-young walked beside Minho as armed guards escorted them to the center of the chamber. She had explained during their journey that this emergency session was called specifically because of him. The entire Galactic Confederation wanted to decide what to do about the human who carried the extinction mark. Stay calm, she whispered to him. Let me do most of the talking. The speaker of the council was a tall creature with silver skin and 3 heads. Each head spoke in a different language, but the translation devices made everything clear to Minho. We gather today to address a threat that has not appeared in our galaxy for thousands of years, the speaker announced. The human Lee Minho has been confirmed to carry the extinction mark of the ancient progenitors. A wave of frightened whispers spread through the chamber. Many of the alien representatives moved away from Minho as if he might explode at any moment. From the oldest section of the chamber, a figure slowly stood up. This being was clearly ancient even by alien standards. Its body was thin and covered in what looked like tree bark. When it spoke, everyone else fell silent. I am Ancient Keeper Voss of the Netherian Archive, the being said in a voice like wind through old leaves. I have lived for 8,000 of your years. I have studied the forbidden histories that others fear to remember. Keeper Voss moved to the center of the chamber, walking with a staff that glowed with soft light. The progenitors ruled this galaxy 50,000 years ago. They were beings of great power who kept order through fear and strength. When they vanished, they left behind markers in the bones of certain bloodlines across many worlds. The ancient being pointed its staff at Minho. These markers were meant to identify their chosen agents of destruction. Beings who could access progenitor technology and weapons capable of destroying entire star systems. A representative from the warlike Draknari species stood up. General Corax was a massive creature covered in red scales and battle scars. The histories are clear, he growled. Every marked individual brought death to their region of space. 13 civilizations died when marked ones appeared among them. That is correct, Keeper Voss agreed. The Altari Empire, the Crystal Collective, the Hive Worlds of Kepler, and 10 others. all wiped from existence after marked individuals activated ancient progenitor weapons. Another human had been allowed to attend the session. Kim Jae-won was Earth's official representative to the Confederation. He stood up from the human delegation area. With respect to the ancient keeper, Kim said, you are talking about events that happened long before humans ever left their home planet. How can correlation prove causation? Maybe these civilizations fell for other reasons. General Korek slammed his fist on his desk. 17 marked individuals have been found throughout history. 17 times entire regions of space became dead zones. The pattern is clear. Dr. Park asked for permission to speak. I have been studying the scanner readings from Station Omega 7. There is something different about Lee Min-ho's mark. The ancient text does not say agent of extinction like the historical records show. His bones carry the words wielder of the extinction mark. This distinction has never been recorded before. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species demanded that Earth be destroyed immediately before the mark could activate. Others wanted to study Min-ho to learn more about progenitor technology. A few suggested quarantining the entire human race until they could understand what was happening. Ancient Keeper Voss raised his staff for silence. The distinction may be important, but we cannot take risks with the survival of galactic civilization. I have seen the dead worlds where marked ones walked. Nothing grows there anymore. Even the stars seem dimmer in those regions. The speaker called for a vote. One by one, each species cast their decision. The result was overwhelming. 43 species voted to authorize military action against Earth. Only 3 voted to study the situation further. 1 abstained. The decision is made, the speaker announced. Admiral Korex will lead a fleet to the human home system. If the humans cannot remove the marked individual from existence, their entire species will be cleansed from the galaxy. Kim Jae-won stood up again, his face pale with shock. You are talking about genocide. Billions of innocent people who have done nothing wrong. Better billions die now than trillions die later, General Korex replied. The progenitor weapons could destroy half the galaxy if activated. As the council session ended, Dr. Park quickly moved to Min-ho's side. We have to get out of here, she said quietly. There might still be time to warn Earth and find another solution. But Min-ho was not listening to her words. Something strange was happening to him. Since the council session began, he had been feeling odd sensations in his bones. Now, as the representatives filed out of the chamber, he was seeing things that were not there. Images flashed in his mind. Huge machines buried deep in dead worlds. Networks of power that stretched between star systems. Ancient voices speaking in languages no living being remembered. And somewhere in the darkness of space, weapons that could crack planets like eggs. Something is waking up inside me, he told Dr. Park. I can feel things I have never felt before. See places I have never been. Dr. Park helped him walk as his legs became weak. The mark is activating. The council's fear and anger might have triggered some kind of response in the progenitor technology. They reached the human quarters where Kim Jae-won was already sending urgent messages to Earth. The Confederation fleet will reach our system in 6 days, he told them. Our defenses cannot stop them. We need a miracle. Min-ho collapsed into a chair as more visions filled his mind. He saw a dead world covered in glass, its surface melted by ancient weapons. But he also saw something else. Deep beneath that world was a structure that called to him, a place where answers might be found. There is a planet in the Kepler sector, he said weakly. The third world in a dead system. Something is buried there, something that wants me to find it. Dr. Park checked her data pad. That sector has been quarantined for thousands of years. Nothing lives there anymore. It was one of the first regions where marked individuals appeared. Then that is where we need to go, Min-ho said. If I am really carrying this mark, I need to understand what it means. And maybe, just maybe, we can find a way to save both humanity and the galaxy. Kim Jae-won looked up from his communications. The Confederation is already sending ships to watch all the jump points leading to that sector. Getting there will be almost impossible. We have help, Dr. Park said. Dr. Kent from the Veltharian Research Division believes the marks serve a different purpose than destruction. She has access to a fast ship and knowledge of hidden jump routes. As they prepared to leave Zenthari Prime, Min-ho felt the mark in his bones growing stronger. Whatever was waiting for him in the Kepler sector, it had been sleeping for 50,000 years. Now it was waking up, and he was the key that would unlock secrets the galaxy had forgotten. The race to prevent galactic war had begun. Space around Earth looked different than it had a week ago, where once only merchant ships and passenger liners traveled between the planets. Now military vessels filled the void. The human defense fleet worked desperately to build their battle lines, knowing they faced impossible odds. Captain Yu Donghyuk stood on the bridge of the battleship Seoul, watching his tactical display. Red dots showed the approaching Confederation fleet. There were over 300 ships, including massive dreadnoughts that could destroy Earth's cities from orbit. Status report, he ordered his communications officer. Evacuation of the outer colonies is 60% complete. Lieutenant Commander Shin Hyung replied. But Earth itself cannot be evacuated in time. We are talking about 8 billion people. Captain Yu studied the enemy formation. Admiral Korex was leading the fleet personally, his flagship easily identified by its massive size and heavy weapon signatures. The Draknari general had built his reputation destroying pirates and rebel worlds. He would show no mercy to humanity. Send a message to all ships, Captain Yu ordered. We cannot win this battle, but we can make them pay for every mile of space. Hold the line as long as possible. Far from Earth, in a stolen research vessel racing through hyperspace, Minho felt every jump his species made toward extinction. The mark in his bones was growing stronger each day, bringing with it visions that made him cry out in his sleep. Dr. Park So-young monitored his condition from the ship's medical bay. Dr. Kenth, their Veltharian ally, had provided them with advanced scanners that showed disturbing changes in Minho's skeletal structure. The ancient symbols were literally rewriting themselves into his bones. The pain is getting worse, Minho said as another wave of agony shot through his body. I can feel something calling to me from the dead worlds. It is like a voice in my head that speaks without words. We are almost to the Kepler sector, Dr. Kent said from the pilot's seat. My instruments show massive energy readings coming from the third planet, but they are very deep underground. Kim Jae-won was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. The Confederation fleet has engaged our outer defenses. Captain Yu is fighting well, but he cannot hold them for long. The research ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system. Before them stretched a graveyard of worlds. The star itself burned with a strange red light that seemed wrong somehow. The planets were all dead, their surfaces covered in the glass-like substance that progenitor weapons left behind. Sensors are picking up artificial structures on the third planet, Dr. Kenth reported. They are huge but buried under kilometers of melted rock. As they approached the dead world, Minho felt the mark responding. His bones began to glow with the same red light they had seen in the scanner. But this time he was not afraid. He could sense that whatever waited below had been sleeping for thousands of years, and he was the key to wake it. They landed near what the sensors showed was the largest underground structure. The surface was smooth glass that reflected the red star's light like a mirror. Nothing grew here. Nothing had grown here for 50,000 years. The atmosphere is breathable, but barely, Dr. Park said, checking her instruments. There are traces of radiation, but nothing immediately dangerous. They put on environmental suits anyway and walked across the glass plain toward a formation that looked different from the rest. It was a perfect circle of black stone that had somehow survived whatever destroyed this world. When Minho approached the circle, his entire skeleton lit up like a beacon. The black stones began to move, separating to reveal stairs leading deep underground. Ancient lights flickered to life along the walls, casting strange shadows in patterns that seemed to move on their own. The architecture is definitely progenitor, Dr. Park said as they descended. But I have never seen anything this well preserved. Most progenitor ruins are broken fragments. The stairs led to a vast underground chamber that stretched beyond the range of their lights. In the center stood a massive structure that looked like a tree made of metal and crystal. Its branches reached up toward the ceiling and down through the floor, as if it connected to something even larger below. What is that thing? Kim asked. Minho walked toward the strange tree without answering. As he got closer, the metal branches began to glow. Symbols appeared along its surface, writing themselves in real time as if the structure was responding to his presence. It is some kind of computer, Dr. Kenth said, scanning it with her instruments. The energy readings are incredible. This single device has more processing power than our entire planetary network. When Minho placed his hand on the tree's trunk, the entire chamber filled with light. Holographic displays appeared in the air around them. showing star maps, technical diagrams, and streams of data in the ancient progenitor language. A voice spoke from everywhere at once. It was not heard through the ears but felt directly in their minds. The voice was old beyond imagining, but it carried a strange kindness that none of them expected. "Welcome, wielder of the mark," the voice said. "I am the archive, keeper of truth that was hidden when the galaxy chose fear over wisdom." Dr. Park stepped forward, her scientific training overcoming her fear. "You are a progenitor artificial intelligence?" "I am the memory of those who came before," the archive replied. "I have waited 50,000 years for one marked with the true seal to find me. Much that your species believes about the progenitors is wrong." The holographic displays changed, showing images of a galaxy very different from the one they knew. Instead of the warlike progenitors of legend, they saw beings working to help younger civilizations grow and learn. They built wonders across the galaxy and shared their knowledge freely. The progenitors were not conquerors, the archive explained. They were gardeners of civilization, helping species reach their potential while preventing them from making mistakes that could destroy the universe itself. "Then what happened to the 13 civilizations?" Kim asked. "Why did they die when marked individuals appeared?" The images changed again, showing worlds consumed by their own weapons, civilizations that had found fragments of progenitor technology and used them without understanding, species that built weapons capable of tearing holes in space itself. "The marked ones were not destroyers," the archive said. "They were our emergency response. When civilizations threatened to damage the fabric of reality, marked individuals would activate our fail-safe systems to prevent universal collapse." Minho felt a chill of understanding. "You are saying the 13 civilizations were not murdered. They were stopped before they could destroy everything." "Correct. But the knowledge of why was lost when we departed this galaxy. Later civilizations only remembered the fear, not the purpose." Dr. Park was studying the technical displays. "According to this data, the current Galactic Confederation is making the same mistakes. They have built their technology by copying progenitor fragments without understanding the consequences." The archive confirmed her fears. The space-time distortions caused by their rapid expansion will reach critical levels within decades. "The galaxy faces the same choice our predecessors did: accept limits to their power or face extinction." Kim checked his communication device. "Captain Yu's fleet has been destroyed. The Confederation forces are beginning their bombardment of Earth's outer colonies." "Then we are too late," Minho said. "No," the archive replied. "You are the wielder, the final fail-safe we created for this moment. But the choice of how to save the galaxy is yours alone. I can show you the options, but I cannot make you choose." As holographic menus appeared around him, Minho realized that the fate of trillions of beings across the galaxy now rested in the hands of a simple cargo hauler who just wanted to go home. The archive's holographic displays filled the underground chamber with swirling images of galactic history. Minho watched civilizations rise and fall across thousands of years, their stories playing out in streams of light and data that somehow made sense to his marked mind. Dr. Park was frantically taking readings with every instrument she had. "The level of technology here is beyond anything we have ever discovered. This facility could revolutionize our understanding of physics, biology, even the nature of space and time itself. Knowledge means nothing if there is no one left alive to use it," Kim Jae-won said grimly. He was monitoring communications from Earth, where the Confederation bombardment had begun. Entire cities were disappearing under streams of plasma fire. The archive's voice echoed through their minds with ancient sadness. "This is not the first time we have watched civilizations destroy themselves through fear and misunderstanding. The pattern repeats across the galaxy like a disease that spreads from world to world." "Show us the options," Minho said. The pain in his bones was constant now, but he found he could think through it better than before. The mark was changing him in ways he did not fully understand. 3 new holographic displays appeared before him. Each one showed a different possible future for the galaxy. "The first option is the reset protocol," the archive explained. The display showed every advanced civilization in the galaxy suddenly losing their technology. Ships fell from space. Cities went dark. Billions of beings died as their life support systems failed. All progenitor-derived technology would shut down immediately. Civilizations would return to their pre-spaceflight states. The universe would be safe, but the cost in lives would be enormous. Dr. Kent studied her instruments with growing alarm. My ship's engines are based on progenitor technology. So are most of the medical devices keeping people alive across the galaxy. The deaths would number in the trillions. The second display showed a very different scene. Minho saw himself connected to vast networks of machinery that stretched between star systems. His consciousness spread across thousands of worlds, becoming part of something much larger than human. The repair protocol requires a wielder to merge with our galactic network, the archive continued. Success would stabilize space-time and allow civilizations to advance safely under guidance. Failure would trigger immediate universal collapse. The risk is enormous, but the potential reward is a galaxy that could grow beyond its current limitations. What happens to the person who merges with the network? Dr. Park asked. They become something greater than their original species, but they are no longer truly individual. They become a guardian whose consciousness spans the galaxy, but who can never return to the life they knew. The third display showed the most complex scenario. Information spreading to every world in the galaxy. Governments debating, some worlds choosing to limit their technology voluntarily, others refusing to change. The galaxy divided between wisdom and stubbornness. The Revelation Protocol would share all archive knowledge with every civilization simultaneously. They would learn the truth about the progenitors, about the marked ones, and about the danger their current path represents. But the choice to change would be theirs alone. Kim looked up from his communications device. Captain Yu managed to get a message through before his ship was destroyed. Earth's military command is requesting permission to use nuclear weapons against the Confederation fleet. That would be suicide, Dr. Kent said. Their ships are shielded against primitive atomic weapons. Minho studied the three options, feeling the weight of the galaxy's future pressing down on him. Each choice would affect trillions of lives, but he was just one person. How could he make such a decision for so many others? There is something else you need to know, the archive said. The current crisis was not an accident. The rapid expansion of the Galactic Confederation has been guided by influences that do not want the galaxy to achieve stability. The displays changed to show dark regions of space where no stars shone. Things moved there that were older than the progenitors, entities that fed on the chaos and destruction that came from civilizations destroying themselves. The Devourers, Dr. Park whispered. I have seen references to them in the oldest ruins. They are supposed to be myths. They are very real, the archive replied. They have been pushing civilizations toward self-destruction for millions of years. The progenitors oppose them, which is why we were eventually forced to leave this galaxy. The Devourers have returned, and they are using the Confederation's fear of marked individuals to create exactly the kind of conflict they desire. Suddenly, the chamber's lights flickered. Dr. Kent's instruments began showing massive energy signatures approaching from space. Confederation ships are entering this system, she reported. Admiral Orcs must have tracked us here. Through the archive's displays, they could see the alien fleet taking positions around the dead planet. Admiral Orcs's massive flagship dominated the formation, its weapons trained on the surface. He intends to destroy this entire world to make sure the marked individual cannot escape, the archive observed. The irony is that his actions will trigger exactly the kind of space-time disruption that the galaxy cannot afford. Kim was trying to establish communication with the Confederation fleet. Admiral Orcs, this is Kim Jae-won, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council. We have discovered vital information about the progenitors and the marked individuals. You need to hear this before you act. The reply came back immediately. Human representative, you will surrender the marked individual immediately, or we will glass this entire planet. You have 10 minutes to comply. Dr. Park grabbed Minho's arm. We need to choose now. Whatever we are going to do, it has to happen before those ships open fire. Minho looked at his companions, then at the archive's displays showing the three protocols. Each option would change the galaxy forever, but doing nothing would certainly lead to destruction. Is there a fourth option? He asked the archive. Something that combines the best parts of the other three? There is one possibility we did not mention, the archive replied slowly. The gradual integration protocol would activate our network slowly over several years, giving civilizations time to understand and adapt. It would require a wielder to guide the process, but the transformation would be less traumatic. However, it has never been tested on this scale. That sounds like the best choice, Dr. Park said. It gives everyone time to learn and adjust instead of forcing sudden changes. Kim looked up from his communications. Admiral Corex is powering his main weapons. We have less than 5 minutes. Minho made his decision. I choose the gradual integration protocol. But first we need to tell the galaxy the truth. Can the archive broadcast information to every world at the same time? Yes, but it will require enormous amounts of energy. The broadcast might be detected as far away as Earth. Do it, Minho said. Send everything. The real history of the progenitors. The truth about the marked ones. The danger the galaxy is facing from the devourers. And the solution we are offering. The archive began channeling power from deep beneath the planet's surface. Ancient machinery that had slept for millennia awakened across the galaxy, preparing to carry a message of hope to civilizations that had forgotten how to trust each other. The broadcast will begin in 60 seconds, the archive announced. Are you prepared for what comes next, Wielder? Minho looked at the metal tree that would soon become part of him. He thought about his simple life as a cargo hauler and how it was about to end forever. But he also thought about the billions of people on Earth and the trillions more across the galaxy who deserved a chance to choose their own future. I am ready, he said. Above them, Admiral Corex's ships prepared to fire weapons that would crack the planet's crust and ensure that no secrets remained buried in its depths. Admiral Corex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the countdown timer reach its final seconds. His weapons officer had confirmed that the planet-cracking missiles were ready to fire. In less than a minute, the dead world below would be reduced to asteroid fragments, taking the marked human and whatever secrets lay beneath its surface. Admiral, his communications officer called out, we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. It is addressed to the entire Galactic Confederation. I do not care what desperate lies the humans wish to tell, Admiral Corex growled. Prepare to fire on my command. But across his fleet, other ship commanders were receiving the same transmission. It was not coming from the planet alone, but from sources throughout the galaxy. Ancient progenitor installations that had been dormant for thousands of years were suddenly broadcasting on every frequency at once. Lieutenant Commander Shin Hyung had managed to escape Earth's destruction in a small reconnaissance ship. She was hiding in an asteroid field near the outer system when the transmission reached her vessel. Her eyes widened as she saw the data flooding her screens. This is impossible, she whispered. The signal is coming from everywhere at once. On worlds across the galaxy, beings stopped their daily activities to watch screens and displays suddenly filled with images they had never seen before. The real history of the progenitors unfolded before their eyes, showing a civilization of builders and teachers, rather than destroyers and conquerors. Dr. Park watched the archive's displays with amazement as the broadcast spread through hyperspace networks that had been hidden for millennia. Every inhabited world in the galaxy is receiving this simultaneously. The response is going to be incredible. The transmission showed the 13 extinct civilizations not as victims of marked destroyers, but as societies that had chosen to weaponize technology they did not understand. It revealed how the marked individuals had sacrificed themselves to prevent universal catastrophe, not to cause it. Admiral Corex felt his certainty beginning to crack as his own science officers confirmed the authenticity of the ancient records. This could all be fabricated, he said, but his voice lacked its earlier conviction. Sir, his tactical officer interrupted. We are receiving similar confirmations from our homeworld's archives. Our historians are saying the records match fragments they have studied for centuries. On the Draknari homeworld, massive crowds gathered in the capital city's central square. The planetary government had ordered the broadcast to be shown on every public screen. For the first time in their recorded history, the warlike Draknari were seeing evidence that their entire understanding of galactic history was wrong. Similar scenes played out on hundreds of worlds. The Veltharians, known for their careful scientific approach, immediately began analyzing the data with their most advanced computers. The Netherians, as the galaxy's oldest surviving civilization, found confirmation of legends they had thought were myths. In the underground chamber, Minho felt the archive's network awakening across thousands of worlds. The pain in his bones was transforming into something else. He could sense the vast machinery that had once maintained peace across the galaxy, and he understood that he was about to become part of it. The broadcast is having the desired effect, the archive reported. Approximately 60% of Confederation worlds are calling for immediate ceasefires with Earth. However, 30% are dismissing the information as human propaganda. Kim Jae-won was monitoring responses from across the galaxy. The Draknari military command is split. Half their fleet commanders are requesting new orders, while the others are maintaining their attack positions. Admiral Corex found himself facing a mutiny as his own officers began questioning their mission. "Sir," his weapons officer said carefully, "perhaps we should delay the bombardment until High Command can analyze this new information." "We have our orders," Admiral Corex replied, but he could hear the doubt in his own voice. The marked individual must be destroyed before he can activate ancient weapons. But what if he is not trying to activate weapons? His science officer asked. What if the archives are correct and we are about to commit genocide based on a misunderstanding that has lasted 50,000 years? Above the dead planet, other ships in the Confederation fleet were receiving similar questions from their crews. Captain Veltar of the Veltharian cruiser, Swift Current, announced that his vessel would not participate in further attacks on human worlds. Commander Yes of the Netherian Deep Space Explorer joined him in refusing orders. The Confederation fleet began to fragment as individual commanders made their own choices about whether to continue the assault or wait for new information to be verified. In the chamber below, Minho approached the metal tree that would transform him into something beyond human. "If I do this, will I still be me?" "You will retain your memories and your core personality," the archive explained. "But your consciousness will expand to encompass the needs of trillions of beings across the galaxy. You will become a guardian of civilization rather than a member of any single species." Dr. Park put her hand on his shoulder. "You do not have to do this. We could try to escape, find another way to solve this crisis." "No," Minho said firmly. "Too many people have already died because the galaxy chose fear over understanding. If there is a chance to end that cycle, I have to take it." He placed both hands on the tree's crystal trunk. Immediately, energy flowed through his body as the mark in his bones synchronized with the ancient machinery. He could feel his consciousness beginning to expand beyond the boundaries of his individual mind. Above them, Admiral Corex made his final decision. "All ships stand down. We will withdraw to a safe distance while High Command analyzes the new information." "Sir," his communications officer said with relief, "we are receiving reports from across the galaxy. Over 70 worlds have declared their independence from the Confederation Military Command. They are forming a new alliance based on the Archive's teachings." Lieutenant Commander Shin Hyung watched the Confederation fleet withdraw from her hiding place in the asteroids. She immediately began broadcasting the news to any human survivors who might be listening. "This is sole command to all human vessels. The immediate threat has ended. Repeat, the Confederation fleet is withdrawing." In the underground chamber, Minho felt himself becoming something more than human, but less than human at the same time. His individual concerns about food, shelter, and survival were fading, replaced by awareness of the complex needs of galactic civilization. "The integration is proceeding normally," the archive reported. "The network will be fully operational within 6 months. Civilizations will have time to adapt their technology and social structures to work with the new reality." Dr. Park watched her friend disappear into something greater. Knowing that she was witnessing the birth of a new age for the galaxy, the simple cargo hauler who had wanted nothing more than to deliver his shipment and go home was becoming the guardian of trillions of lives. "Will we ever see him again?" she asked the archive. "He will be present in every decision that affects the safety and growth of galactic civilization, but the Lee Minho you knew exists now only as part of something much larger." As the transformation completed, a new voice spoke through the chamber's systems. It sounded like Minho, but carried the weight of ancient wisdom and cosmic responsibility. "The network is awakening," the voice said. "The galaxy has chosen change over destruction. Now the real work begins." 6 months after the Great Revelation, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Dr. Park So-young stood in the rebuilt Earth orbital station, looking out at ships from dozens of different worlds working together to repair the damage caused by the brief but devastating war. The station had been renamed Haven, and it served as the headquarters for the new Galactic Cooperation Council. Unlike the old Confederation, which ruled through military force and fear, The council made decisions based on the ancient wisdom flowing through the reawakened progenitor network. Status report, Dr. Park said to her assistant, a young Veltharian scientist named Dr. Kent, who had volunteered to help rebuild human civilization. Reconstruction of the damaged colonies is ahead of schedule, Dr. Kent replied. The new progenitor-assisted technology is remarkably efficient. We can rebuild entire cities in weeks rather than years. Through the network, Minho's transformed consciousness guided the development of technologies that worked with the natural forces of the universe. Instead of fighting against them, ships traveled faster and more safely through hyperspace. Energy systems produced more power while creating less waste. Even food production became more efficient as planets learned to work with their natural ecosystems. Admiral Orcs, the former Confederation military commander, had undergone perhaps the most dramatic transformation of anyone. After learning the truth about the progenitors, he had requested to be assigned to the new peacekeeping corps, which helped settle disputes between worlds without resorting to violence. Dr. Park, he said as he entered her office. His red scales had been decorated with symbols representing the 17 species now working together in the core. The situation in the Vegan sector has been resolved peacefully. Both sides accepted mediation through the network. Excellent news, Dr. Park replied. How many conflicts have been prevented this month? Over 300 potential wars have been stopped before they began. The network's ability to help different species understand each other's perspectives has been remarkably effective. Captain Yu Donghyuk had survived the destruction of his ship and now commanded the new Earth Defense Cooperative. Unlike the old military structure focused on fighting enemies, the cooperative worked to protect trade routes and help species in need. The rescue operation in the Centauri system is complete, he reported during the daily council meeting. The solar flare damage has been repaired and the colonists are safe. Lieutenant Commander Shin Ha-young had been promoted to lead the new exploration division. Her mission was to seek out civilizations that had not yet heard about the network and offer them the choice to join or remain independent. We have made contact with 12 new species this month, she reported. All of them have chosen to participate in the network after learning about the benefits. None have felt pressured to join. This was crucial to the network's success. Unlike the old Confederation, which had forced membership through military pressure, the new system allowed each civilization to choose their own level of participation. Kim Jae-won had become Earth's first ambassador to the progenitor network. His office was located in the deepest levels of Haven Station, where he could communicate directly with Minho's expanded consciousness through specially designed interface systems. How is he today? Dr. Park asked during her weekly visit. Kim activated the communication array and immediately the room filled with a presence that felt familiar yet vast beyond comprehension. When Minho spoke, his voice carried the wisdom of ages but still retained the gentle humor that had made him a good cargo hauler. I am well, Dr. Park, the voice said, though I is not quite the right word anymore. I exist in thousands of places simultaneously, helping civilizations solve problems they could never handle alone. Do you miss being human? She asked, the same question she brought every week. I missed the simplicity of it, Minho replied thoughtfully. There was something peaceful about focusing on one cargo shipment at a time, one destination, one purpose. Now I carry the concerns of entire worlds in my consciousness. But you do not regret the choice? Never. I can see the results of what we accomplished. Wars that will never happen because species understand each other better. Technologies that will improve billions of lives without harming the universe. Children growing up on thousands of worlds who will never know the fear their parents lived with. The network had indeed transformed daily life across the galaxy. Medical advances guided by progenitor knowledge had eliminated diseases that had plagued species for millennia. Agricultural improvements meant no world faced starvation anymore. Educational systems helped young beings from different species learn together, creating the first truly galactic generation. But perhaps the most important change was in how conflicts were resolved. When disputes arose between worlds or species, the network provided neutral ground where all sides could experience each other's perspectives directly. It became almost impossible to maintain hatred for beings whose thoughts and feelings you had shared. Dr. Kent had returned to her home world to establish the first progenitor studies university. Species from across the galaxy sent their brightest students to learn about the ancient technologies and how to use them responsibly, We have discovered 17 new progenitor sites this year, she reported during a galactic broadcast. Each one contains knowledge that helps us understand the universe better. But more importantly, each discovery reminds us that great power must be balanced with great wisdom. The threat of the Devourers had not disappeared entirely. The ancient entities still lurked in the dark regions beyond the galaxy's edge, feeding on chaos and destruction wherever they could find it. But their influence had weakened considerably as civilizations learned to work together, rather than fight each other. Ancient Keeper Voss of the Netherians had become the network's chief historian, working to ensure that the mistakes of the past were never repeated. The galaxy has entered its second golden age, he announced during the first anniversary celebration of the Great Revelation. Not because we have eliminated all problems, but because we have learned to solve them together. In the deep networks that connected star systems across the galaxy, Minho's consciousness touched millions of lives every day. He helped engineers design safer starships, guided doctors performing complex surgeries, and whispered solutions to scientists struggling with difficult equations. But his favorite moments came when he could help individuals with smaller problems. A young Draknari struggling with mathematics, an elderly Veltharian writing poetry about her homeworld, a human child afraid of the dark who needed to know that someone was watching over her. Dr. Park had been offered positions on dozens of worlds, but she chose to remain on Haven Station as the director of human network relations. Every week, she visited the communication chamber to talk with her old friend, sharing news from Earth and updates on the reconstruction efforts. "The memorial garden is complete," she told him during one visit. "We planted a tree for every human who died in the war, but we also planted trees for every Confederation soldier who died fighting us. The children from both species play together among them now." "That is beautiful," Minho replied. "It shows that healing is possible even after great pain. Do you think we will ever meet again? I mean, face to face?" There was a long pause before Minho answered. "I am present in every decision that keeps the galaxy safe, in every moment of cooperation between species, in every act of kindness between beings who were once strangers. When you see children from different worlds playing together, when you see former enemies working side by side, when you see hope replacing fear across the stars, you are seeing me." As the years passed, the galaxy continued to evolve. New species joined the network, bringing fresh perspectives and innovative solutions to old problems. Technologies advanced in ways that made life better for everyone without threatening the stability of the universe. The scanners that had once glowed red with the mark of extinction now showed a different symbol when they passed over human bones. The golden light that appeared represented not destruction, but transformation, not an ending, but a beginning. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not through conquest or superior technology, but through the wisdom to choose cooperation over conflict and healing over destruction. They had given the galaxy its greatest gift, the knowledge that even the most feared prophecy could become a blessing when viewed with understanding instead of fear. In the vast networks that spanned between stars, a simple cargo hauler who had wanted nothing more than to deliver his shipment and go home continued to watch over trillions of lives. His legacy was not written in stone or metal, but in the choices made every day by beings who had learned to see past their differences to their common hopes for peace, prosperity, and understanding. The wielder of the extinction mark had indeed brought an end to something, the age of fear and isolation that had kept the galaxy's children apart for far too long. In its place rose a new era of cooperation, wisdom, and hope that stretched from star to star across the infinite darkness, lighting the way forward for generations yet to be born. The galaxy had learned that sometimes salvation comes not from destroying what is feared, but from understanding why it was feared in the first place.